2 mugs on the table, one steaming, one forgotten. I paused mid-sip and said something I thought was small, maybe one day, and the room changed. I didn't know one sentence could change our next decade. It landed like a small earthquake that kept rumbling under everything we thought we had settled.
Welcome back to SNJ Pride. I'm Samnang, and tonight this episode is for anyone who's ever felt a quiet wish, something you didn't expect that suddenly asks for a whole new future. We'll tell a story about parenthood, grief, and choices. This is lived experience, not legal or medical advice. If anything we say brings up strong feelings, please pause the episode and take care of yourself.
I'm James. If you've ever been in a relationship where 2 futures whisper different things, you're in the right place. We want this to feel safe. No shaming, no pressure, just honest, practical conversation from 2 men who've been through hard talks and come out still choosing each other.
Let me set the scene. It's the kind of ordinary evening that later feels cinematic in memory. Dinner, a show half-watched, the kind of small talk that floats between us. I said, lightly at first, "Do you think we'll ever have kids?" I meant it like a maybe. The answer I'd been carrying secretly was not a maybe at all. The thing I'd whispered to myself for months, some nights like a small warmth, other nights like a pressure, came to the surface. And the reaction it triggered inside me felt like grief I hadn't known I was carrying. Here's the truth of it. I was surprised by how much the idea of children changed the way I saw my future. Suddenly there were timelines and what-ifs, age, fertility windows, money, cultural expectations, what our parents would say. I learned this the hard way. Desires that feel private can reshape a relationship if they aren't spoken. The thing that made it worse was my assumption that it was too late, or that the desire alone meant I wasn't grateful for what we already had. Those were lies my fear told me late at night. When I finally said it directly, "James, I think I want children," my voice trembled. I expected fireworks, an immediate yes or a cold turn away. Instead, there was a stillness, and then James reached for my hand. I remember thinking, that pause could be anything. It could mean refusal, it could mean thinking, it could mean grief on the other side. That's when everything changed, for both of us.
I remember that night from a different angle. I heard the words, and my first feeling was not anger, it was surprise, and then, honestly, fear. Fear for what you were holding alone, and fear that we'd have to decide something monumental overnight. But what I also felt was a sense of responsibility, to listen without rushing to fix it, to not make it about my discomfort. From where I sit now, that first breath before I answered is what mattered. I said, "I hear you," and I stayed present.
We've been there, facing a question that felt bigger than dinner. What I learned was that steadiness looks like small things, keeping your voice soft, asking questions out of curiosity, not out of accusation, giving each other time-limited space to think instead of an immediate verdict. That kind of steadiness kept us in the room with each other rather than driving us apart.
If you're listening and wondering how to even start this conversation without blame, here are 3 scripts we used, simple, low-pressure ways to open and contain the talk. First, the curiosity-first script. I've been noticing a feeling about kids lately, and I want to explore it with you. Can we talk about it for 20 minutes tonight? Short, invitational, and time-limited. Second, the boundary-first script for when feelings are raw. This is really painful for me to say. I need us to discuss it without trying to fix it immediately. Can we set a check-in for next week to talk again? It asks for safety. Third, grief acknowledgement script. I'm grieving the life I thought we had. I want you to know that before we decide anything. Naming grief gives it permission to exist without blame.
Here's a simple decision mapping exercise you can try together. Step 1. List values. What matters to each of you about family, legacy, freedom, stability? Step 2. Map costs. Time, money, emotional labor, legal hurdles. Step 3. Set timelines. If fertility or age is a factor, what windows are we facing? Step 4. Create a 1-month experiment. Commit to researching options 1 hour a week each, to a single neutral check-in at week 2 and a boundary-free reflection at week 4. The point is to create structure so the conversation doesn't become a late-night spiral.
We tried the 1-month experiment ourselves. We agreed on the rules. No ultimatums, no public posts, and both of us would bring one option we were willing to research. For me, that meant looking into adoption communities and connecting with dads who had used known donors. For James, it meant reading about the emotional work of parenting and talking to a friend who'd navigated foster to adopt. By the end of the month, we didn't have a verdict. We had clearer language, fewer catastrophes in our imaginations, and an agreed check-in cadence. It bought us empathy and time. We also walked through options, briefly and compassionately, so you know the landscape without feeling overwhelmed. There's child-free life, which can be a full and beautiful choice. Adoption and fostering, which can involve long waits and legal hoops, but are ways to parent through community. Known donor arrangements and co-parenting agreements, which need clear legal counsel and emotional boundaries. And surrogacy, which involves medical, legal, and financial complexity. Each route has trade-offs. That's why we recommend trusted professionals, fertility specialists, adoption agencies that work with LGBTQ+ families, and a lawyer experienced with parental rights for same-sex parents. We'll include vetted links in the episode notes.
Naming the emotional work is vital. There will be grief. Grief for the life you pictured, grief that the timelines feel unfair, grief for doors that might close. Permission to mourn is not permission to punish your partner. If you're the one who didn't know this desire existed, allow the other person to grieve being surprised. If you're the one who wants children, allow yourself to mourn what feels like a loss if the answer isn't immediately yes. Set time-limited check-ins, 20 to 30 minutes twice a week where you each speak without interruption. If conversations get stuck in blame, that's a red flag to bring in a therapist familiar with LGBTQ+ family building.
I want to name 2 red flags that mean it's time to pause and seek help. 1, if the conversation becomes weaponized, used to control, shame, or punish. 2, if one partner threatens ultimatums that feel like emotional coercion. Those are moments for outside support. Therapy, mediation, or legal counsel aren't failures. They're tools that protect dignity and help make decisions that last.
If you're listening and you're in the middle of this, maybe it's 2 a.m. and you can't sleep. Here are 3 small things you can do right now. 1, breathe and name one feeling out loud. I feel scared, or I feel hopeful. 2, send one sentence that starts a safe conversation. Can we set 20 minutes tomorrow to talk about something important to me? 3, give yourself permission to pause the decision. Not deciding tonight is okay. 1 step at a time. You deserve time and compassion.
I hear you. Whatever side of this you're on, wanting kids, not wanting them, terrified that you're out of time, your feelings are valid. We've been there. What matters is staying curious rather than accusatory, and remembering that choosing each other can look different for every couple. If you need a place to start, DM us or send an anonymous voicemail and tell us one small line you'd use to open the conversation. We'll read anonymized examples in a future episode, because you are not alone in this.
Quick professional reminder. This episode is our experience, not a substitute for professional advice. For medical, legal, or adoption-specific questions, consult trusted fertility clinics, LGBTQ+ friendly adoption agencies, and a lawyer who understands parental rights in your jurisdiction. We'll put vetted resources and hotlines in the show notes so you don't have to start searching from scratch.
If this episode hit something for you, please reach out, DM us on social, comment I hear you, or send an anonymous voicemail sharing one small line you'd use to start this talk. It helps to know we're holding space for each other. And if you're triggered, please pause and use the resources in the notes. One small ask. If this helped you even a little, share it with a friend who might need permission to ask the question.
Thank you for sitting with us tonight. You matter. Your story matters. Whether your future includes kids or not, you deserve honesty, care, and time to decide. We're grateful you trusted us with your ears.
We're Samnang and James, and this is SNJ Pride. You're not alone. We'll see you next time.